Thank you, guys. Arise, O compatriot, Nigeria's call obey to save our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. O God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow and live in just and true peace and justice and justice shall reign. Thank you very much, guys. I think that is not enough to appreciate that beautiful voice. So when I asked how many of us were proud to be Nigerian, I saw very, very few hands. But when it was time to sing, we turned the song to a worship song, literally. What's going on? Another round of applause, please. I think that in itself is a reinstatement of hope. I felt really proud to be Nigerian hearing Gift sing that way. Okay, so next thing we will be doing today is to pretty much get into the core of our program for today. And I'm sure that many of us are aware of why we are here. You know, it's a celebration of TAS, the inaugural launch of our learning hub, which we're all really anticipating and looking forward to. And so we're going to be having the president, the CEO rather, the chief executive officer of TAS. I'm sure many of us are, you've been hearing about TAS, it's the buzzword, TAS on social media. You don't really know who the people behind the organization, are. So today you'll be meeting one of us, who is the CEO. Can we please make a big rounding sound of applause for our CEO, Miss Omayemi. Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen of the press, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. We are truly delighted to welcome you here today. It gives me great pleasure to extend to you all very warm welcome on behalf, pardon me, Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we're ready. Good morning, gentlemen of the press, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. We are truly delighted to welcome you here today. It gives me great pleasure to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of the Association of African Startups. We are grateful that you are here today to celebrate this day and formally launch and dedicate this association with us. I think it is worth asking ourselves why we are celebrating this day. The reasons are evident. For decades, the African continent has been a victim of exploitation. Regardless of numerous contributions of great sons and daughters of this wonderful continent, we have been lagging behind, as major indices of economic growth and development reveal. With our enormously increasing population index, there is a looming crisis, and several indications point to the need for urgent action to be taken to preserve our great continent. The Association of African Startups is a Pan-African organization that is focused on equipping African startups with the required skills necessary to create sustainable businesses. We have a mandate, and I dare say, a divine mandate, to transform the African economy one startup at a time. We make this clarion call, asking all sons and daughters of Africa to rise up to build our great continent. A great future is achievable if we start now. We must all live here today with a commitment to take responsibility for creating a great continent for the present and future generation to come. I implore you to join this great army as we begin a journey to make Africa great. As we begin to design a system that fosters an efficient, effective, and sustainable economy. This is our home. Africa must be built by Africans. Welcome once again, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Omayemi, for that very warm welcome. I guess that gave us a bit of insight into what TAS really is. Okay, so I'm going to be asking questions and answers, not now, but it's up for you. It's up to you to actually listen. At this point, I'm going to be recognizing a few of our special guests who are already in the house. First, I would like to start with my very own pastor, Pastor Yinka Adesoya. Please, a round of applause. Can we recognize you, sir? Please, let's clap for him. I'm not going to move on if you don't clap. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. Also, we have Minister Bamike Oba, who is also with us here. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining us. I guess she's over there. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much for making it here today. Also, we have the members of the press. Where are they? The press. I mean, you guys make the loudest noise. How is it quiet now? What's going on? Okay. You're welcome. Such a pleasure to have you as well. And then we have members of the Harvest World Church. I mean, I can't go further without acknowledging my people. So, Harvest Church, the Harvest World Church members. That's not how we do, but I'll let that go for today. Thank you very much. Yes, so at this point also, we're going to be taking the TAS anthem. I'm very excited about this. I mean, this is our anthem, okay? And doing that will be Ben. Please, a round of applause for Ben as he comes over to take the anthem.
Thank you. Good morning, all. Can we stand up and as we sing our anthem? We are brothers and sisters in the arms across the land, seas, reaching for the star, bound by a common belief. Let it be what we all need. A new African breed, impacting humanity, inspiring all to succeed. We follow the heart, and it led us here, where we are free to reach our dreams. We follow the heart, and it led us here, where we are free to reach our dreams. This is a clarion call to all visionaries. This call we can't ignore. Oh, come with urgency. The future that we see is a goal we must achieve. It's time for us to be the light that we'll seek, where there is loyalty. We follow the heart, and it led us here, where we are free to reach our dreams. We follow the heart, and it led us here, where we are free to reach our dreams. Where we are free to reach our dreams. Where we are free to reach our dreams. Jam your hands together for that.
Another round of applause for Ben singing the TAS anthem, sorry. Okay, I took a few notes from the words that he was saying, and I just thought to share. Perhaps many of you weren't really listening to the words itself. So he says, this call we can't ignore, come with urgency. The vision we see is a call we must achieve. It's time for us to be the light we seek, right? I know that there are many of us here who have diverse solutions to how Nigeria can become a better country, right? We are always talking about the difference between the developed world and where we are. And I think that the essence why you're here really is to help you find your role, okay? And at this point, it brings me great pleasure to welcome the next person who is going to be taking on from here. It's interesting that throughout last year, when we were going through the whole crisis, the whole chaos and everything, there were a few people who were in their own private corners pioneering solutions, and this person is one of, those people who defied the challenges and was thinking, what's next? How can we make our country, how can we make our continent a better place? And so it brings me great pleasure to invite my friend, my mentor, my sister, Just Ibe, the president of the Association of African Startups, to take on the presidential address. Please, a round of applause for her. We can do better.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen seated here today. My address is going to be very short, but I think it's going to challenge a lot of us to step out of our comfort zone because there is indeed work to be done on this continent. 2020 taught us that for the longest time, as Africans, we have sat at the back seat and we've allowed too many people, too many indices determine the current realities we see on the African continent. And that's why we at the Association of African Startups sat together and said, what are the current indices that can determine the growth economically of a continent? Entrepreneurship. And so we decided that because the startups in any economy drive that economy, we are going to invest in that segment of the economy so that we can raise a people that will literally transform this continent, especially in the economic sector. And one of the things we decided to do is set up a very tailored framework that allows young Africans harness all the solutions we have created to create sustainable businesses. How did we do this? We created a learning curriculum that highlights the problems that young Africans are going through that is not necessarily allowing them harness the tech space to grow great businesses, especially in comparison with their counterparts in the different places in the world. And we identified fantastic trainers and mentors in the 55 countries in Africa to come and raise and train our startups so that they can operate at a level where they are very competitive and they are growing businesses that would stand the test of time. So far, what we have created by way of a structure is such that in the next 3 days, we are going to officially open up the boot camp so that our members can start learning rigorously to help them play in this global economy starting now. And yesterday, something very pivotal happened on the continent of Africa. The AfCFTA was born. The AfCFTA is the African Continental Free Trade Area that allows 55 countries in Africa to trade on a single regional platform with access to 1.2 billion people and a global market of $2.5 trillion as of last year. What this goes to tell us is that if you're an entrepreneur listening to me today, you have the potential to enter into markets that you have never entered before. You have the potential to play in a market where you don't necessarily have to expend so much energy, so much manpower, and so much resources, yet you are tapping from the potential in this market. What does this mean for an entrepreneur who is listening to me today? Two things. Number one, you're going to have to get planted in communities where this particular platform set up by the African Union, you can step in and leverage it. Number two, you're going to have to create systems and structures in your business that allows you to participate in the different trading that is going to be going on the African continent. And just yesterday, some of us on my team were grafted into groups where major conversations are going on about the AfCFTA and how you, our members, can leverage it. Yes, we did this because we want our members to have first movers advantage into this very large market. And so if you're a member of the Association of African Startups listening right now, please, you deserve a round of applause. Because we here are setting structures in place to allow you leverage this market faster than anybody else, especially those who are your counterparts in the market. Now that all of these things have been set, the next thing we now need to start to discuss is, are you truly ready to become the solution Africa is looking for? In the past, majority of you have run fantastic businesses. But the difference is that we have been running businesses in silos such that we are not actively thinking about our roles in the development and transformation of our economy, starting from your local country to the continent and then the world at large. So this is a wake-up call to every entrepreneur who is seated in one corner and is saying, I'm just a small business owner. I'm just a startup. Let me tell you, you are the driver of every economy that exists on this continent, because 50% of you actually make up the economy of our nation and by extension the continent. That means because we are supporting you, we're equipping you, we're giving you all the development you need, you should be at the driver pushing what we want to see in Africa. So I challenge you today to take advantage of all the resources, and I challenge you to a very large extent develop your mind. You need to develop your mind because the solutions are waiting for you to be the ones to actually create them. I challenge you because Africa is waiting for you to take a step, because if you don't take a step, we stay where we are. We are where we are because so many of us have to a very large extent been minding our businesses, meaning that I have said, if it's just me and my family, I'm fine. As long as my business is doing okay, I'm fine. 2020 showed us that we can no longer be that. We can no longer leave the development to just the government. We, the private sector, we individuals have to lock hands with the government to create the Africa that we want to see. Agenda 2063 of Africa says we are going to create the Africa that we truly desire. And it means that 41 years from today, you and I are going to actually say, did we do our part? If we did our part, then we will get the Africa that we desire. If we did not do our part, then we'll still be complaining. But I know that you and I are the tipping point generation. What that means is we are going to do better than anybody else has done in the history of time. Can I see a clap for all of you who are seated here today? And for all those who are watching from every part of Africa. And finally, I'm going to say that yesterday we also launched a 2-hour short course titled the AFCTA, the Vehicle for African Economic Transformation. We launched it yesterday because what we did was gather all the information around the AFCFTA and compressed it into a 2-hour video that is easy for every African entrepreneur to learn and get on board immediately. Because majority of the documents that are online may be difficult for you to comprehend because of all the different documents, but we have made it easy. So after today, we are going to leave it open for every African entrepreneur so that you too can get on board immediately, and we'll start talking business at a continental level. An opportunity has been opened to us by Africa, and I dare say God has actually opened an opportunity for us because he has seen our hearts, he has seen our desires, he has seen that we are tired of complaining and want to do something different, and that's why AFCTA has eventually been launched. Once all of us decide that in our different corners we're going to take advantage of it, we are going to singularly have the largest trading arena in the entire world, especially in the number of participating countries. So, in closing, I want to say that for every one of you who have joined the Association of African Startups, you are at the best place you can be in 2021 and in the next decade, because there's so much we want to do in this next decade. For this year, what we're going to be focused on is capacity building for all the different business competencies that you have. By year 2, we're going to be having sector-driven conversations, meaning we're going to be splitting businesses into different sectors so that we can help you grow in your direct sector such that we can start having policy conversations with the different stakeholders to help your business grow further. And by several years, we'll start generating business leaders that will stand at the top of these industries and make negotiations that would have deeper impact on their sector. Having said this, I want to say that at this juncture, I officially launch, or I officially open up the learning hub of the Association of African Startups.
Okay, I am challenged. I don't know about you. Can we please give her another round of applause? I think that beyond it being inspiring, beyond it being an inspiring talk, it's really a call to challenge, a call to action for many of us seated here. And if there's any entrepreneur here who is seated here, I think that this is one program that you want to participate in. I'll enjoin you to go and look up our website, read about what we're really about, and be a part of it. I tell you, there's so much to learn. And at this point, I'm going to call on members of the press to please get their questions ready. We'll be taking questions for the president to answer. I'm going to be going round, so if you have any question, do you? Okay, great.
Joy, while we wait for your questions, I forgot one very important protocol. I wanted to introduce the executive members of the Association of African Startups that are present here. I want to personally introduce them. And I say this because for every vision to be birthed, it requires people who believe in the vision to run with it. And there are a few members of the association that are present here, especially the executive team. I know you just listened to the CEO speak on Miami Sage. I also want to introduce our company secretary, and her name is Joy Abara. Joy is here. Thank you, Joy, for your immense contribution to the Association of African Startups. Also seated in the public is Fola Shonowo. She is the Chief Accountant for the Association of African Startups. Thank you. There's so many of our members that are still on their way. Once they get here, we'll introduce them as they go.
Your name, the company, yes.
Good morning. From this day newspaper. I recommend your doing something like this for a female in a male environment. I think that's a kudos to you. Ms. Miami mentioned creating sustainable business. So I think you have to shed more light on that. Emphasize on the increasing population. There's no how you can curb the increasing population, but what can you do to actually influence that? Next, what's the Boot Club all about? You say that is opening in 3 days thereabout. You said that you're creating systems and structures. So can you give us a breakdown of the system and structures? Now, after training them, how do you intend to empower them to remain within the economy? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to start with the first question, sustainable businesses. In Africa, and even to a very large extent, a lot of countries in the world, businesses start and within the first 5 years, they die off. And we have identified that one of the major reasons this happens is not just funding, it's lack of support. And when I say support, we live in a world where the shiny object syndrome is celebrated. People pay attention to those who are making it seemingly, ignoring those who are at the bottom of the pyramid, doing something small to get by. So we have identified that one of the reasons we don't have sustainable businesses is because they are dying over time. Nobody's paying attention to them. And what we mean by helping them create sustainable businesses is bridging the gap at every point, giving them the knowledge required, the support system by way of community. Aside that, we have also created a scheme that allows us shine the spotlight on startups and entrepreneurs who are doing great in their respective places. And this includes our TAS Business Magazine and our TAS TV show that is going to be hosted on DSTV. What we want to foster is we want to say to young entrepreneurs, if you're doing well, we can shine the spotlight on you. If you're making effort and adding value to the environment, to the continent, we can celebrate you. What that will begin to do is it will give a lot of young entrepreneurs to dare to dream, to dare to do, to dare to defy the odds, so that they too can be among those who are adding value, explicitly on the continent of Africa. So that's sustainability. The second thing you asked is, remind me, I think she talked about the boot camp. Okay, fantastic. Population is going to be increasing. As a matter of fact, in 2050, we have been told that it's going to double approximately. What that goes to show to us is that in Africa, we are creating too many employees rather than creating entrepreneurs. In fact, our educational system is wired to graduate people who are job seekers as opposed to people who are entrepreneurs. I'm going somewhere with this. One of the things that we're going to be launching in the course of the year is something that is going to help us graduate entrepreneurs from our universities. So we're starting from that level to say, if you're graduating from universities, can we put systems in place. I'm not allowed to share this particular detail yet, but we have created the structure we are just going to implement within this quarter to say that our graduates should graduate and be able to start businesses right from school, so that we have people who are working on the streets already adding value to the economy, as opposed to graduating with a certificate and walking around. So the answer to your question is that Africa needs entrepreneurs. We need to, as much as possible, churn out a lot more entrepreneurs from our colleges and universities, as opposed to people who are going to be searching for jobs. So yes, that's the simple approach to that. And I know that at the Association of African Startups, we cannot possibly do that by ourselves. There are going to be sister organizations that are going to be birthed from different parts of the continent. We need to pay emphasis on what the savior of the economy of Africa is, and that's entrepreneurship. From as young as possible, anybody we can begin to groom, even from our secondary schools to our universities. Let young people start seeing that they can create solutions from either their innate ability or acquired skill. Once we have that, we'll have them adding value to the economy. A simple case study is in Nigeria. Our university students have been on strike for the longest time. If we had groomed these people to be able to deploy their skills and abilities, we won't have people who are just waiting for school to open up again. We'll have people who have been using what they have learned, what they have acquired, to start actively adding value to the economy. And this is how we must begin to think. We as an organization are already thinking that. I'm also calling forth on sister organizations that are going to be birthed across the continent to really pay emphasis on entrepreneurship, as is truly our savior on the African continent. Third thing is, you talked about what systems and structures we have put in place. We have created a 12-month boot camp, and that 12-month boot camp is, we have identified 12 pain points of every entrepreneur on the African continent. And every month we are bringing 3 trainers, 1 mentor, to come and really dismantle that particular subject matter, so that everybody's learning from different perspectives and they're able to implement it in their businesses. And at the end of 2021, our goal, by the grace of God, is to empower 5,000 entrepreneurs with $5,000. We are hoping that as an organization, we are going to find, people are going to come and support this vision, because we want to give 5,000 entrepreneurs $5,000 at the end of 2021. That's our sincere desire. And by the grace of God, we know God is going to make it happen. I believe that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Just. So we're going to move on to the next media company. Okay, you're ready. Your name and the organization you represent. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Vivian from the Guardian newspaper. And I would like to know, does this African startup focus mainly on small businesses, or both the big and small? And also, how will this startup address the challenges affecting agribusiness, affecting the agricultural business in the country? Okay. How would this startup address the challenges affecting agribusiness and business in the country? And also, I would like to ask, what are the likely benefits farmers can get from the startup?
Thank you very much. I think her first question is, when is it? Okay, so for African startups, we focus on small and medium enterprises. What that means is, if your business is between 0 and 10 years, you are a liable beneficiary of the Association of African Startups, because the curriculum is wired such that everybody within this 0 to 10 years can benefit from the curriculum we have created. The second question is, how is this going to benefit agribusinesses? So agriculture is such a huge sector, and we believe that it's such an anchor of especially the African continent where we're going. In the first year, what we're going to be focusing on is general curriculum to help them really create better products, really market and sell their products, especially within the continent. But by year 2, what we're going to be doing, especially for agribusiness and different sectors, is we're going into sectoral conversations. So agric is going to be in its different sector, fashion, education. We're going to break it down so that agric will have agric solutions deployed to them by agric specialists by our year 2. But this year is general information that helps them create great products, help them sell it, help them package it, and help them start thinking about cross-border transactions, especially leveraging the AFC FTA that has just been created in Africa. So like we mentioned earlier, the first thing is they're going to be able to learn how to actually identify products and services that are sellable and scalable, especially here that we are. So if you're somebody who has just been focusing on one end of your product, by the time you are in a community where there's a lot of interactions, you'll be able to find that based on the questions that have been discussed here, I could potentially create this end product from what I have, and then I can scale that eventually. The other thing is perhaps the person may just be one of the very fortunate beneficiaries of all the different things we have created together, like being celebrated on our different platforms, and maybe a possible beneficiary of the $5,000 fund we intend to give by the end of the year to members who qualify at the end of the year. So yes, these are possible benefits for farmers, and of course every classification of business who are part of the Association of African Startups.
So we have another media personnel here.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Abdul Latif from Daily Trust newspaper. Okay, first of all, maybe as a follow-up to one of the questions, you talk about the $5,000 for 5,000 people. I want you to clarify more on that. Is the $5,000 going to be shared among the 5,000 beneficiaries, or how do you want to actually, yes. So, and the other two questions on the AFCTA. If you ask some probably Nigerian businesses, they will tell you Nigeria is not ready for this free trade agreement. That we really need to be very careful so that we don't turn our country into a dumping ground. And also, do you see, I want to ask, has the government actually created a kind of support that will really prevent the situation where Nigeria will be like a dumping ground for some of these businesses, like I said? And the other question now, when you're talking of this AFCTA, we still have this protocol on free movement that has not been ratified by most of the African countries. You go to some other African country, you find it very difficult to secure a visa. And some of them don't even have visa on arrival like we have in Nigeria, for instance. Don't you see this as a challenge to the effective implementation of this AFCTA? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Majority of concerns that you have raised, I'm glad to announce to you that there's a lot of work ongoing to actually make these things work. One of the things I mentioned during my conversation earlier is we as Africans need to see that this solution is for us and by us, and we must embrace it with every sense of positivity and urgency. Yes, there are some barriers that still exist at some borders, but as at yesterday, 54 countries on this continent have signed that agreement. As at yesterday, 41 of these countries have ratified the agreement. As at yesterday, 31 have submitted their tax bids. What this goes to say is that countries are actually making effort to be a part of this. And Nigeria, very importantly, we are a part of this. One of the things I want you to look at, and this is for everybody who is African and watching from any part of Africa, is that this is such an opportunity. Never has it ever been recorded in the history of this continent that we have a trade center. In fact, the chairman of the UN said this is the largest trading market that has existed since the establishment of the World Trade Organization, especially with the number of countries in participation. Should I be honest with you, there will be some bottlenecks. Should I be honest with you, there will be some red tapes. Should I be honest with you, there's still going to be a lot of bureaucracies. But do we believe this is a solution? Absolutely. Do we believe it's going to work? Yes. And how do I know that? One of the things that the chairman of the AFCFTA said yesterday during a meeting we were privy to be in is that they are thinking of creating a digital platform where SMEs specifically on the continent can actually relate and do business. As a matter of fact, there's already a trade portal that has been set up and is being tested by Monday to see how countries can do their trade transactions on that portal with each other. And once this digital platform is set, what it will mean is you would have people from all the 55 countries, and all you just need to do is just say you're looking for somebody in Ghana, you will find. But there's also a platform where you can do KFC I mean, KFC is, is it KFC? No, not KFC. Where you can do know your customer, KYC. Where you can do your due diligence to be sure that the person you're interacting with is not fraudulent. All of these things have been set up. And like I said, yesterday we launched a course on the AFCFTA. What we did is explain this thing in detail. If you don't understand it, you don't know it, you would think it's not going to work. But by the time you sit down and understand everything, you will see how seamless it's going to be when we do embrace it and when all the bottlenecks have been dropped. So like everything that is new, there may be some hitches, but are we going to get there eventually? Yes. Are we hopeful and excited? Yes, we are. It's definitely going to work on the African continent.
I think, is there any other question from the press? Any more questions?
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Yes, the
it's going to be
$5,000.
$5,000 per participant, not shared among 5,000 people. By the grace of God, that's our sincere hope and that's our vision for the year 2021. And we hope that this is going to happen in this year. Who is funding that? When we get to that bridge, we're going to cross it. Right now, we are not privy to say anything about that. But once we get to that bridge, it's going to happen in Africa.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Just. Any more questions? Any more questions? I think that's all.
Thank you
Please,
very
a round
much.
of applause for the presidents of the Association of African Startups. Please, let's encourage her. Let's do more. We can do better. I see many of us are very keen on the $5,000 path. People that have 9 to 5s want to start businesses. I think I want to start a business as well. Okay, so at this juncture, we have come to the end of the program. I think we're pretty much on time. This is how we want to start in Nigeria moving forward. No African time, right? And so I would like to say a very big thank you to everyone for taking out the time to be here. Thank you for your time, for your patience. We'll be moving on to the next phase of our program, which is dedication service. But before that, we're going to, get into the picture, the photography session. And so we'll be doing that shortly downstairs, I believe. Without further ado, thank you guys for coming. I wish you all the best of luck, but I believe that many of you will still be here waiting for the second service, the dedication service. We're in church, sorry, so I'm mixing my terms. It's fine. Thank you, guys. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You're welcome to church. God bless you.
Shabaki wande.